Back in 1835, Nikolai Gogol released a short story known as V that featured a gnome king and his army of monsters summoned by an evil witch who can rise from her grave. The story has had many adaptations over the years, the most well-known being the one from 1967, which also happens to be the first Soviet horror movie. But today I would like to talk about another adaptation, one that is much less known and also much darker, so naturally it's my favorite. While the original has a monster whose eyelids reach the ground, this version has something even stranger. A Holy Place is a 1990 horror movie directed by George Kadievich, the same guy who made She Butterfly, those two being some of the only horror movies to come out of Yugoslavia. The movie starts with three seminary students traveling along a barren road, with the sound of wolves howling in the distance, or maybe something else. The main character, Toma, falls a little behind, and despite them being in the middle of nowhere, a mysterious carriage approaches him, and there is a girl inside it, staring at him. The others didn't see anything, and the carriage disappears over the hill. They stumble upon a creepy-looking hut that an old lady lives in. She reluctantly lets them sleep over, but separates Toma from the other two, and the mysterious carriage is parked out in front, but it is empty. When night falls, the old lady comes into Toma's room and starts taking her clothes off and attacking him and riding his shoulders into the night, laughing like a classic witch. I thought this part was very reminiscent of the She Butterfly, when the young vampire rides her lover until sunrise. He starts praying, and she does not like that one bit and loses control of him. He beats her with a rock and strangles her, but then she transforms into that same girl from earlier. The carriage comes back from the fog, but there is nobody inside it. This concludes the prelude of the story, and I loved every bit of it. It could have been a standalone short film. The distant howls, the mysterious fog, and the carriage emerging out of it, the old hag making creepy, suggestive moves with no clear motive, and her transforming into the girl from earlier really got me intrigued in the story. Toma runs back to the seminary, where he is told that some rich guy's daughter is dead, and she requested him, of all people, to come over and pray for her, despite them never meeting each other. He really doesn't want to go, but he ends up there anyway, and what do you know? The carriage is parked in front of the castle, and the daughter is that same old hag that he killed. What I found interesting is that I usually thought of witches' default appearance to be the old hag, and then they can equip the young girl skin to deceive and seduce. But in this movie, I think she's actually a young girl, but something made her old. Maybe practicing witchcraft, or something even darker, is what causes the change in her appearance. Or maybe the two aren't the same at all. And the movie does hint at that as a possibility. There is a funeral service, and she's placed in the holy place, where only virgins go. And in the story, this place is described as run down, and they stress out the point that a church shouldn't be run down if it's really a holy place. Like the state of it is reflective of what's going on inside. So nighttime comes around, and it is time for Toma to go to the church and pray for the girl. This is meant to happen for 3 nights, and this is only the first. And the night scenes look beautiful. 2 villagers escort him to the church, and you can feel the dread of the place. He really doesn't want to go in there. He isn't even a proper priest yet, so he's feeling very uneasy. He starts praying, and she opens her eyes and rises from the casket. She circles him and stares menacingly, but she just returns inside. Toma is terrified, and he does act quite cowardly throughout the encounter, but I can't really blame him. So the original tale features the gnome monster and various demons and minions of his. And despite Gogol prefacing the story by saying that V is a gnome god from folklore, other accounts of this are pretty scarce. So it's a mystery as to if he followed actual folklore or created his own. However, this adaptation gives us some interesting folklore of its own, more reflective of its setting and region. Through the side characters, we learn quite a bit of things. One of the villagers or servants recounts a time when the dad and daughter were going to church, but she couldn't enter and even fainted before the door. The father saw her face and freaked out, and as the villager carried her to the carriage, he saw something too, but it isn't shown. Another villager says that the dad and daughter actually had a relationship, and that's why the wife died. And now she haunts the region and howls like a wolf at night under a full moon, because her soul can't find peace. And maybe this is why the girl is cursed to become an evil hag at night, because of that wrong relationship with the father. Also, throughout the movie there is a painting of the mother that we keep seeing, So I wonder if the old hag in the beginning is actually her, or maybe some twisted blend of the two of them. The maid also has a story to tell when they ask her if witches can shapeshift. She recounts a night where a black cat with orange eyes appeared on her window. It came in and attacked her, but she fought it off with a knife. The next day, when she saw the girl, she had a wound in the same place that she hurt the cat. There is also a strange guy, and we get to hear his backstory. Definitely the most unsettling of the recounts. He used to be a dog trainer, but the girl started to make a move on him after she caught him with the maid. She makes him go on the ground, and then she starts stepping on him, and I guess he likes it at first, but then she starts jumping on him, and even the horses freak out from that. From that moment, he stopped being a dog trainer and started just sort of tweaking around the place. And maybe that was her witch trait, her way of spreading curses or something, because it does happen later on as well. Finally, there is an account that appears only in the original story, and it's pretty grim, so I can see why it wasn't shown in the movies. One night, there was a frightening howling heard outside one of the houses and scratching at the door. Thinking it was a dog trying to get in, a lady opened the door, but instead of a dog, it was the girl, looking blue in the face, and her eyes were sparkly. She rushed straight to a cradle that was in the middle of the room and sucked the blood out of the child that was in it. And right after that, she sucked the lady's blood too. Very scary stuff. But I think this story is important because it is the only account that implies some vampiric qualities to the witch. With all these stories, you really get a feeling that this girl was in some deep witch business, morphing into an old hag and a cat, fainting before a church, and the incredibly cruel punishment that she performed on the dog trainer. On the second night, Tama returns to the church and the witch's powers seem to grow. She screams and produces a wind attack, scaring Tama so much that his hair turns white. He goes to complain to her dad and he says that he can't do it anymore. But he catches him getting a painting of the daughter maid that he wants to keep a secret. The portrait of the mom seems to be missing her picture, and she jump scares him from the hallway. So this is an example of that restless soul haunting the area because of what the dad did. On the third night, the howls are very loud, and one of the guys says it's not wolves, but something else. Maybe the spirit of the mother. But this time it doesn't faze Tama. He's locked in and ready to finish his duty. This night, there are howls coming from the coffin too, and as he's inching closer to it, we come to find out that it's empty. But she is right behind him and makes him get inside. And now it's his turn for her to do the thing. And she steps on him just like she did with the dog trainer, and she's really getting a kick out of it. They find him laying with her in the morning, and this part kind of reminded me of the last shot from Nosferatu, which is an interesting comparison. I guess in this movie the roles are turned around, and the witch/vampire wanted the guy for some purpose, like they were linked. So they find him laying in the morning, and then the dog trainer hits him really hard and even kills him. Maybe he was jealous that he took his girl or something. The two friends from the beginning take him and carry him back. But on the road, they encounter the witch again, which is interesting because if she was the girl, then she should be dead fully. And I guess she did come to life every night in the coffin, but I felt like she was contained to the area. So maybe she is a vampire that can't really die and she transforms into an old hag at will. Or maybe the old hag is actually the mom, and they work together to get victims. The whole ordeal is pretty unique and interesting to think about. The carriage and the howling are back, and the hag repeats the events from the beginning with the next guy. I like a lot of things about this movie. First of all, the atmosphere and look of everything. It perfectly shows that dark village vibe, and much like the she butterfly, it reminded me of a setting from The Witcher. I can definitely see this as some place Geralt would have to go in and investigate what is really going on here, which would be pretty useful since the movie doesn't give a direct answer. I absolutely love the scenes of walking to the church at night. It is dark and moody, and it's like that feeling before you enter a haunted house. You kind of don't want to go in because it will be terrifying, but you already committed to it. Or in Thomas' case, he's forced to do it. And he starts off terrified, then on the last night, he's pretty confident, at least walking up to it. The whole dad situation is pretty weird. First, you think he's just really sad about his daughter dying, but then after you learn about their relationship, it becomes pretty gross that he misses her so much, and you start to wonder where this sadness is truly coming from. But it's interesting how that relationship affects everyone. For example, that could be why the daughter became a witch in the first place, and then he himself looks traumatized all the time, and the mom died because of it all. and she can't find peace, so even the dead are affected by this wrong relationship. When the villagers talk about witches, they all seem to be aware of the fact that the daughter is one. One of the random guys even says that she visited him at night too, so it must have been everybody at this point. Each night, Toma resembles a corpse more. His hair turns white, then his face becomes more and more pale, and ultimately, he really does die. And unlike other movies where they get the real deal, or some powerful exorcist to take care of things, he's just a student that is here very much against his will, trying to do the best he can. So the main structure is based on V, but the ending doesn't have any no monsters, which the 1967 version does do, so it's worth mentioning. The depictions of the three knights are a lot sillier, but in a delightful, fantastical way, and everything is more animated and lighthearted. For example, on the second night, the casket starts flying around the room, and then the girl starts moving around like she's on a flying carpet. And then I have to acknowledge the final boss fight of the 67 version. On the third night, the witch conjures skeletons, huge hands, gnomes with too many noses and eyes, and all manners of fantastical creatures that come out of cracks you didn't even know were there. Then ultimately she summons V, the monster that the story is named after. So he comes out and the minions have to raise his eyelids, and he kills the Toma of that movie. But then the cockerel sounds, and all the creatures disperse. The girl turns back into a hag, and the priest is dead. And despite V being the name of the original story, he makes no appearance in the holy place. But I had no problem with that, because it wouldn't really fit the atmosphere that it built. Instead, the story focuses more on the witch herself, and makes her the true monster, rather than just the summoner of another monster, if that makes sense. But the holy place is cool, because it's so much darker and more grounded. And once you have that context of what happened here before the deaths, it adds a new layer to things. So those were my thoughts about A Holy Place. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I would like to give a big thank you to the members of the channel. So huge thanks to Wiz, Thomas Dubecki, Nighttime, and Lucy. And I'll see you all next time.